Welcome to the First Amendment on Campus module of the RSO Required Leader Training. In this module, we'll cover the First Amendment, limits to free speech, UNLV guidelines on free speech, including RSO rights and responsibilities, and freedom of assembly. As a public university, UNLV must uphold the Constitution of the United States of America, including the First Amendment, which reads, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. UNLV is committed to protecting the rights of free speech and assembly regardless of content. The First Amendment and the university are founded on the philosophy that everyone benefits in an environment where ideas can be expressed and responded to rather than being subject to a rigid, imposed belief system where those who deviate from it are punished. In this training, we talk about UNLV guidelines on free speech, but we also encourage you to visit the UNLV Free Speech website for more information. Before we get started, it is important to note that free speech guidelines only apply to government-controlled speech, such as university policies. Speech that is from one person to another does not fall under the First Amendment. The Supreme Court has ruled that universities may set time, place, and manner regulations to speech and that these regulations must be content neutral. While UNLV can set guidelines for free speech, the university may not limit free speech to one particular space. Hence, UNLV does not have a free speech zone. While the Carroll Harder Classroom Complex Walkway is a popular area for free speech activities due to the wide sidewalk and foot traffic, it is not a designated free speech zone as all outdoor spaces that are not reserved are traditional public forums that may be utilized for free expressive activities. We are asking people to refrain from using the term free speech zone to refer to the CBH walkway as it is not the only space on campus where free speech is allowed. The Supreme Court has adopted this analysis to determine whether a reasonable regulation is applied to an expression. Traditional public forums are spaces where speech is generally allowed. At UNLV, traditional public forums are any outdoor space that is not reserved and that does not block egress. Limit public forums are spaces in which certain types of speech are allowed. At UNLV, reservable spaces such as rooms in a student union or the outdoor alumni amphitheater are limited public forums and are governed by written policies. Non-public forums are spaces that are incompatible with free expression. At UNLV, this includes department or faculty offices and the food courts in the student union. Over the years, there have been many court cases related to free speech. There are a few narrow categories of speech that are not protected from government action, including incitement, defamation, fraud, obscenity, child pornography, threats, and fighting words. Fighting words are words meant to incite violence. The U.S. Supreme Court first defined them in Chaplinsky v. New Hampshire, 1942, as words which, by their very utterance, inflict injury or tend to incite an immediate breach of the peace. University policies related to free speech must be content neutral and may not be broad or vague. Students often ask what they can do if they feel targeted by speech. While UNLV may not be able to limit or restrict speech based on the content, UNLV does offer resources to assist individuals who have complaints of discrimination, harassment, and other inappropriate conduct. Complaints may be submitted anonymously if desired. The online reporting form can be found on the UNLV Title IX website. Hate crimes such as an act or threat of an act against a person or group of persons to cause physical injury, emotional suffering, or property damage that appear to be motivated all in part by race, religion, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or physical or mental disability can be reported directly to the University Police Department. The Student Conduct Code includes prohibited conduct. Students can submit complaints to the Office of Student Rights and Responsibilities, who will proceed with an investigation. Violations of the Student Code of Conduct can result in disciplinary action. Here are some of the relevant sections of the Student Conduct Code that prohibits threatening, assaulting, or causing physical harm. The Student Conduct Code also prohibits harassment, which is any verbal, visual, electronic, or physical content that is sufficiently severe and/or ongoing that it adversely affects or has the purpose or logical consequence of interfering with any student's educational program or creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive environment within the university committee. It is important to note that both individual students and registered student organizations can be found responsible for violations of the Student Conduct Code. In addition to student responsibilities, the Student Conduct Code outlines student rights that also apply to registered student organizations. These rights include the right to exercise their freedoms without fear of university interference, the right to engage in inquiry and discussion, to exchange thought and opinion, and to speak, write, and print freely on any subject in accordance with the guarantees of federal and state laws. The right to engage in peaceful and orderly speech, protest, demonstration, and picketing within the public forum to the extent such activities do not disrupt the academic and/or administrative functions of the university. If your RSO is planning a rally or protest, there are several guidelines you should be aware of. Student involvement and activity staff are available to assist RSOs in planning rallies or protests, regardless of the content, within university guidelines. Keep in mind that protests and walkouts in public spaces may be recorded and that the conduct code will apply to individual student behavior and RSO behavior. To review the UNLV's policy on speech and advocacy in public areas, please visit the UNLV Free Speech website. University outdoor grounds are considered a traditional open public forum with the following time, place, and manner restrictions. Must be at least 30 feet from building entrances, may not impede traffic or normal activity in classrooms and offices. Speech may not interfere with the right of UNLV to conduct its affairs in an orderly manner and to maintain property. Outdoor space that is reserved may not be used for non-reserved free speech. Physical force, threat of force, or other corrosive actions used to subject anyone to speech is expressly forbidden. Counter speech. 2 or more counter groups must be at least 30 feet from each other. One group cannot violate another's ability to see and hear another. Amplified sounds may not disrupt normal university operations, nor can amplified sound be audible inside adjacent buildings unless approved for an event with a reservation for an outdoor space. Use of university grounds and facilities for overnight camping is strictly prohibited. Solicitation of signatures is allowed in certain outdoor unreserved locations. Please visit www.unlv.edu/campuslife/scheduling-guidelines for more information. It is recommended that RSOs consider reserving space for rallies or campus speakers. RSOs with a reservation have the authority to direct activities within university policies in the reserved room or space for the time covered by the reservation, allowing the RSO to limit counter speech in your reserved space, including outdoor reservable space, such as the alumni amphitheater. Those opposing speech in reserved spaces may not disrupt or shout over the event. If another organization is sponsoring an event with views you oppose, you may sponsor your own event with your views, or you may protest outside of the event following university guidelines. Any on-campus meeting, event, or free expressive activity must follow all university policies, guidelines, and requirements. Prior to planning a free expressive event, staff in the Office of Student Involvement and Activities can meet with you to help explain relevant policies and guidelines that will assist regardless of the content. Some websites where you can find relevant information include the Student Union and Event Services, Guidelines for Scheduling University Facilities, Risk Management and Safety website, and the UNLV Policies website. In addition to the UNLV's policy on speech and advocacy in public areas and guidelines for scheduling university facilities, the Student Conduct Code prohibits some conduct which could be applicable for RSOs planning rallies or protests. Prohibited behavior includes trespassing, destroying or vandalizing property, failure to comply with reasonable directions of the university officials, and disrupting classroom activity, university functions, or the operation of the university. RSOs can sponsor events with a campus speaker. Be sure to reserve space for your event. Sometimes there are students that are opposed to a particular speaker or the contents of the event. In accordance with the First Amendment and university content-neutral free speech and space use policies, UNLV cannot cancel the event. Some potential concerns that need to be managed are triggering content, vibe of the event, and safety and crowd control. If security is deemed necessary to manage the event, the sponsoring RSO will be charged. If you oppose the views of a campus speaker, you may protest. Protesters may not speak over or disrupt the event and may not block entrances or egress. Protesters need to be at least 30 feet from their opposing group and need to be outside of the reserved space. Protesting a campus speaker often brings more attention to the views you oppose. Instead of giving power to the campus speaker you oppose, it is an option to sponsor a concurrent event with your own views. It is also an option for RSOs to share a statement of values, or you can also seek student governance such as CSUN or GPSA to issue a value statement. In addition to free speech, the First Amendment also protects freedom of assembly. Periodically, students will ask certain RSOs be removed from UNLV due to the views of their RSO. The Supreme Court ruled in Healy v. James in 1972 that a Central Connecticut State College could not deny recognition to a local chapter of Students for a Democratic Society. The court disapproved of denying rights and privileges to an organization based on the organization's affiliation with an unpopular national organization or based on the abhorrent views of the organization. Since 1972, this decision has been tested several times, consistently favoring the student organization at public institutions. Courts have noted that registration by an institution does not imply support, agreement, or approval of the organization's purpose. Universities retain the power to protect their legitimate educational interests by requiring the student organizations seeking registration to affirm a willingness to abide by a university's regulations and state and federal laws. And this brings us to the end of the UNLV requirements for registered student organizations, including completing this module on the First Amendment.